Is there any river that doesn't meet a sea? That would depend on your definitions of river and sea. There are locations that don't drain into any oceans or drain into large bodies of salt water that are not connected to oceans, such as the Caspian Sea. By some definitions, a sea must be at sea level, that is, it must be connected at the same level to the world's oceans. By that definition, the Caspian is a lake. There are many rivers draining into the Caspian, including the Volga. The Dead Sea and the Salton Sea are also lakes by some definitions, and are fed by streams, the Jordan River in the case of the Dead Sea, the Alamo, New and Whitewater rivers in the case of the Salton Sea. A land area that doesn't drain into the world's oceans is called an endorheic watershed. One large set of contiguous endorheic watersheds is the Great Basin in the western USA. The Great Salt Lake is within the Great Basin, as are the Humboldt River, the Sevier River, and the Bear River. All these rivers eventually fade away. The Bear feeds in the Great Salt Lake, without reaching the sea. There are a number of smaller endorheic basins around the world, including several on the Canadian prairies. Usually the streams feeding these are too small to be called rivers. Almost all water from the rivers eventually meet the sea, not including evaporated water. Only a few rivers evaporate in the middle of the continent, like the Okavango River in Africa. Furthermore, many rivers don't flow to the sea, either directly or indirectly through joining other rivers. This river disappear in the abyss. It is called Lost River, and there are many of such rivers in Dinaric Mountains of Croatia, Slovenia, Montenegro, etc. The water, however, keeps flowing in the underground. Sometimes, it will spring again as the river with a different name, or it will spring under the sea surface. This is just one of the example of the intricate hydrological cycle of the water. Many rivers and streams in general are just surface manifestations of the underground water, especially in the porous limestone environment, called karst. The Great Basin of the western U.S. provides a number of examples. It is defined by the fact that all rivers stay within the basin. The Truckee, Carson and Walker rivers all start in the snowmelt of the Sierra Nevada in California, flow north and east, and end in Nevada, respectively in Pyramid Lake, the Carson Sink, and Walker Lake. The Humboldt River starts as springs near Wells, Nevada, and flows west to the 40-mile desert. These rivers made possible a route for the 19th century covered wagons, stagecoach, and pony express westward to California. The Bear River in Wyoming and Utah starts on the north flank of the Wasatch Range, flows north, then west, then south to the Great Salt Lake. Several small rivers run into Utah Lake, from which the Jordan River flows north into the Great Salt Lake. The seldom noticed Sevier River runs across western Utah from mountains to Dry Lake. The Owens River gathers snowmelt torrents from the eastern Sierra and flows south to Owens Lake, but is now mostly piped to Los Angeles. The Amargosa River flows south from the Spring Mountains, then makes a U-turn to end up evaporating on the floor of Death Valley. The Mojave River flows eastwards right across the Mojave Desert, mostly underground. Amazingly, with the higher precipitation and lower temperatures of the Pleistocene Ice Age, almost all of these rivers overfilled their terminal lake basins and connected with each other, even in some cases reaching the Colorado River and thus the Sea of Cortez. One of the larger rivers not flowing into any body of water is the Nazas River in northern Mexico. It is some 560 kilometers long and has a sizable flow, despite the fact that it is flowing through desert. Its source is at some 2,500 meters above sea level in the Sierra Madre Occidental of Durango, and up there is lots of rain. It ends somewhere in the desert near Torreon, Coahuila, in an enclosed basin called Bolson de Mapimi at 1,060 meters above sea level still. The river flows through a big reservoir that distributes all of its water into several irrigation districts until the whole river is gone. In the old days, it would end at the now disappeared Laguna de Mayron, a shallow salt marsh that floods during periods of heavy rainfall. Technically, the Colorado River does not empty into the sea anymore as well, since its water is getting used completely these days. But the remaining effluents from the fields at Imperial Valley end up in Salton Sea, a large salt lake that is below sea level.